In the year 510 of the First Age, Morgoth sent his might to Gondolin as a force of orcs, goblins and Balrogs riding the backs of dragons, having now discovered their location thanks to the betrayal by Meglin, a resentful figure of the city. Thus began the Fall of Gondolin, where many great elves fell, including Turgon, Ecthelion and Glorfindel. The latter two would not die without taking Balrogs with them, however, and the tales of their battle stand up to any in the Legendarium as the most valiant. Ecthelion was an elf lord of Gondolin. He was a warden of the Great Gate and lord of the House of the Fountain, responsible for the King's Square of the city, which possessed a large fountain in the center. The details of his origin are not clear, but he is believed to have been born sometime in the years of the trees. Donned in glistening silver armor and a diamond-topped helm, Ecthelion was a musical legend. His voice was renowned by elves and feared by the enemy. His skill on the flute was unrivaled, and his army would march into battle playing them. The name Ecthelion would become a war cry for the Eldar. During the Fall of Gondolin, Ecthelion and his forces would descend upon the gate to their great music, slaying more goblins than any other force of the Eldar had in any battle ever combined. But the firedrakes, or wingless dragons, would burst through the walls, sporting Balrogs upon them and spraying fire. According to some versions, Ecthelion slew 3 of them with his blade, but suffered an injury to his shield arm from the whips of the Balrogs. He fought alongside Tuor, son of Huor, who had lifted him away from the dragon's fury and back to the fountain in the King's Square. There they were confronted by Gothmog, lord of the Balrogs and high captain of Angband, who further injured Ecthelion by damaging his sword arm, leaving him with little hope of defense or attack. Thus, as Gothmog raised his whip again, Ecthelion strove forth headfirst toward him, with his spiked helm at the breast of the beast. Gothmog met his end at that moment, but as he was intertwined with Ecthelion, they both fell into the fountain. Clad in armor, Ecthelion drowned in the very fountain that gave name to his house, yet he had saved the life of Tuor, whose legacy was far from complete, as his son, Eärendil, was but 7 years old at the time of the battle. Thus, in the end, Ecthelion's sacrifice proved a key moment in the war against Morgoth, and he remains a powerful yet under-recognized hero in Tolkien's mythology. In that same battle at Gondolin, another elf lord would make his claim as a legendary warrior, the mighty Glorfindel, lord of the House of the Golden Flower. Glorfindel was also born during the years of the trees in Valinor, eventually leaving for Middle-earth with his companion Turgon, the founder of Gondolin. He would become a noble leader amongst the Gondolindrim, famous for his golden hair, his courage, and his physical prowess. During the Fall of Gondolin, Glorfindel and his company fought valiantly against the orcs until a firedrake joined the maelstrom. Having seen the death of Ecthelion in the King's Square, he takes up a group of refugees brought forth by another elf lord, Igalmoth, and leads them across the green vale of Tumladin into the mountain pass of Cirith Thoronath. Guarding their rear, he was forced to combat a pursuing Balrog. Glorfindel and the Balrog battled upon the mountaintops. The whips and claws met the elf lord's armor as he chased the demon amongst the peaks. Glorfindel landed a strike on the Balrog's iron helm, in addition to severing its whipping arm at the elbow. Writhing in pain, the Balrog charged him and received a blow to the shoulder. They continued to grapple before he drove a blade into the belly of the beast. It was cast down, but as the Balrog fell, it clasped onto the golden hair of Glorfindel, and they both fell to their demise. Glorfindel's broken body was rescued by the great eagle Thorondor, and thus a cairn was raised for him. He was covered in grass and golden flowers and would remain there until Beleriand was sunk into the sea. His sacrifice, too, contributed to saving Tuor and Idril, and so valiant that he was gifted another life in Arda. He dwelt in Valinor for many years after, spending time with the Maiar, or Lorin, who would come to be known as Gandalf. After Glorfindel's incarnation, he would be viewed as a near equal to the Maiar due to his many gifts in combat and medicine. Balrogs suffered much defeat at the hands of the gold and silver elf lords of Gondolin, Glorfindel, and Ecthelion. But some versions of the story, particularly the earliest forms of it, include many more Balrogs existing, and being slain by others during the Fall of Gondolin. In those tellings, Turgon and his house slaughtered 40 Balrogs at King's Square. Tuor himself is responsible for the deaths of 5 of them with his great axe, Drumborleg, while fighting back-to-back with Ecthelion, who slew 3 before he killed Gothmog. Then there is Rog, Lord of the House of the Hammer of Wrath, whom, along with his forces, were the first ever to slay any Balrogs outside the walls of the city in the Green Vale of Tumladin, and they slew many. They would all perish in that battle, save Tuor and his family, but their deeds would not be repeated again, save one more altercation thousands of years later.